lead critic of the Senate separate budget hearings, vows to take legal action if the Senate conduct any budget hearings. Away from home, the leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda are set to sign a peace deal aimed at ending a long running conflict in the region at the summit hosted by U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will meet the head of Ukraine's National Security Council, Rustem Emurov, for talks in Miami on Thursday, the White House has confirmed. This plus the news bulletin, voices of those making the news at our package. We'll take a short break to be right back. Welcome back at this juncture. We join Sam Andrews with the news bulletin.
The Coalition for Democratic Change Secretary General Jefferson Koji has accused the Unity Party-led government of diverting over 1.3 million United States dollars for its party event. In a Facebook post Thursday, Jefferson Koji described the ruling party as gang of thieves and state looters, alleging that the party has turned governance into organized chaos and rampant corruption. According to him, under the UP Alliance government, rampant corruption is placed at its peak, while dozens of Liberians suffer in silence. He argued that over $1.3 million has been provided for unnecessary and shameful waste of taxpayers' money under what he called fake banner of the so-called December 6 fundraiser. Jefferson Koji named key government agencies, including the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, Liberia Petroleum Refining Company, Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, among many others, where checks have been written in individuals' name to support the ruling party fundraiser for its national headquarters construction. The CDC Secretary General noted all these happening while civil servants are still awaiting salary increment and salary payment. In another development, the Chief of Staff told the office of President George Weah has openly challenged Unity Party-led government to be true and address issues that will improve Liberians' life. Len Eugene Nangwe, speaking on OKFM Thursday, said contrary to allegations from the government and its supporters regarding former President Weah's acquisition of properties, the former president was well to do before ascending to the presidency. Eugene Nangwe noted that despite the outbreak of global pandemic, which affected several countries' economies, George Weah endeavored to ensure that the Liberian economy was stable and implemented many developmental projects. According to him, the government finds more pleasure in clamping down on opposition figures rather than seeking the needs of Liberians. He criticized the government for what he termed downplaying of former First Lady Clamory Weah impact to the Liberian people and the government's allegation that she used public funds to establish the Claho Foundation. Len Eugene Nangwe said the reported cost of 10 million mansions secretly being built in Lofa County for the president has further exposed corruption being carried out by the government. This after the introduction of a proposed bill calling for the reduction of all lawmakers' monthly salary, several lawmakers have openly rejected the bill. Legislators who openly rejected the bill are Senators Simeon Taylor, Zoe Manuel Pennon, and Joseph Jala, among others. The bill presented by Senator Darius Dillon called for lawmakers' salary deduction from 8,000 United States dollars to 5,000, but has since sparked mixed reactions. Several Liberians, including civil society organizations, have endorsed call for reduction of lawmakers' pay, including salary and benefits. Amongst those calling for reduction are Mountain Colley, a staunch supporter of the government who believes that Senator Dillon's advocacy lacks honesty. Mountain Colley accused the Moserado County senator of continuously earning fat salaries in the last 7 years and failing to live up to his promises. The Liberian Senate has said to have called off its separate budget hearings due to what many described as mounting pressure and condemnation of the House of Elders' action. In recent days, members of the Senate have been heavily criticized and accused by the House of Representatives of overstepping their constitutional authority. The commencement of the Senate's separate budget hearings saw the appearance of several government ministries and agencies which refused to appear for budget hearings before the House of Representatives, prompting tension between both houses. Following continued tension between both houses over claims and counterclaims, on Tuesday, several heads of state-owned enterprises boycotted the budget hearings, with the House of Representatives sending proxies as situation that resulted to the House threatening legislative action against non-compliance. Meanwhile, Sino County Senator Augustine Chie has criticized the Senate separate budget hearings. He acknowledged that the House of Representatives is correct, that the Senate cannot undertake formal deliberations on the national budget until the House of Representatives has completed its review and passed the budget and transmitted the engrossed bill to the Senate. According to Senator Augustine Chie, the position is grounded in Article 34D1 of the Constitution, which vests the initial stage of the legislative budget process in the House of Representatives. The Sino County Senator added that constitutional language prevents the Senate from conducting informal or preliminary engagements, including holding consultative or preliminary hearings with ministries, agencies, and commissions in order to prepare for its eventual formal budget review. Senator Augustine Chie maintains that such consultative or preliminary activities do not amount to formal legislative action and may, in fact, support a more efficient and timely passage of the national budget given the limited time frame. The capital arson trial took a dramatic turn on Wednesday after Criminal Court A resident Judge Roosevelt Riley issued a decisive ruling on several objections raised over defendant statements and later ordered the removal of 2 prosecution technicians from courtroom. Earlier in the proceedings, Judge Willie ruled that a number of statements the prosecution sought to introduce through its first witness, LNP Crime Services Division Chief Investigator Raphael Wilson, would not be admitted into evidence. Citing Section 25(2) of the Civil Procedure Law of Liberia, Judge Willie emphasized that documents must be properly identified and supported through witness testimony before they can be marked or admitted into court record. However, he held that statements made by defendants themselves while in the docket could be marked and presented to the jurors, provided the prosecution properly authenticated them through its witness. Addressing the defense claims that the statements were obtained through torture, Judge Roosevelt Willie noted that both Criminal Court A and the Supreme Court had already resolved the issue. Nima County Senator Samuel Koga has alarmed over what he called the Ministry of Finance and Development planning failure to include in the draft 2026 national budget ArcelorMittal US $200 million support. Addressing the press conference Thursday, Senator Samuel Koga said the action is intended to deny Nima County and Liberia at large a full understanding about the major budget component. According to him, he has already extended the 2 communications to plenary of the Liberian Senate to probe the matter. The president of the Liberia National Association of Trial Judges of Liberia is warning members to stay away from the Liberia National Bar Association annual convention scheduled for December 5th to December 6th in Gantanima County. Judge Nessie Sami, according to our judicial correspondent, noticed that their previous action taken a year ago to refrain from all bar activities until LNBA can address their concern is not having intended effect because some of their colleagues are still playing active roles in the bar. Judge Samin said the National Trial Judges Association of Liberia Executive Committee members have considered their colleagues' action as undermining the association's previous decision. Hence, any member caught at LNBA activities will be referred to the EC for an appropriate action to be taken against them. The presiding judge of Criminal Court D, Montserrat County, said the continual holding of the Liberia National Bar Association annual convention during the regular sitting of Secu Court in the country is troublesome and doesn't serve the need to promote access to justice. Judge Wissett said Secu courts have limited times to conduct litigation within 42 days when hundreds of pre-trial detainees are awaiting to have their day in court. Judge Wissett maintained that holding of the bar's gathering posed serious challenge to the court's hearing cases within 42 days. The House of Representatives has some key government institutions, including the Liberia National Fire Service, Liberia National Police, and Liberia Electricity Corporation. The three institutions are expected to appear before the House plenary next week, Tuesday, to provide a comprehensive update on the tragic fire incident that claimed the lives of 5 in Duporo. According to the House Bureau of Press and Public Affairs, the decision followed a communication from Representative Michael Termons, who have drawn members of the lower house attention to the devastating November 14 fire in Shara community. Several persons, including Shara community Dido Garnett, Hochid, die as a result of the incident. Representative Thomas, in his communication, indicated that although the LNP, Liberia National Fires, and LEC swiftly responded to the scene and initiated investigations into the cause of the fire, none of the institutions released an official report to the public. And civil society. The Civil Society Human Rights Advocacy Platform of Liberia and the Independent National Commission on Human Rights of Liberia have petitioned the Senate calling for an amendment on the bill seeking to establish the War and Economic Crimes Court in the country. Recently, Senator Yombly Kanga Lawrence and Joseph Jala sponsored a bill seeking to establish a War and Economic Crimes Court, but the bill did not make the proposed code independent. In the bill, the Senate has requested an appeal court be chaired by the Supreme Court of Liberia. Speaking shortly after presenting a 36-page amendment to the bill, Senate Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights, the platform Secretary General Adam Dempster disclosed that the bill is intended to make the War and Economic Crime Court to have its own appeal chamber.
Just with the news bulletin. The news bulletin is a regular feature on King's Newsroom. A reminder, you're listening to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, in our one word. Stories we following tonight. Coalition for Democratic Change Secretary General alleges ruling Unity Party of using key government agencies to divert over US $1.3 million for party December 6th event. Jefferson Koji named Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, Liberia Petroleum Refining Company, and Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation as covert checks writers. Several lawmakers openly reject monthly salary reduction, sparking mixed popular reactions as citizens accuse Senator Abraham Darrows DeLone of advocating for lawmakers' salary reduction on a pretense. And also in the news tonight, Liberian Senate reportedly called off separate budget hearings amidst mounting pressure and condemnation. Representative Musa Hassan Belati, lead critic of the Senate separate budget hearings, vows to take legal action if the Senate conduct any budget hearings. Away from home, the leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda are set to sign a peace deal aimed at ending the long-running conflict in the region at a summit hosted by U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will meet the head of Ukraine's National Security Council, Rostim Ummerov, for talks in Miami on Thursday, White House has confirmed. Take a break to be back with voices of the newsmakers. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Chief of Office Staff to former President George Weah has opened a challenge with the United Party-led government to be true and address issues that will improve Liberians' lives. Len Eugene Nangbe, who spoke on OKF on Thursday, said contrary to allegations from the government and its supporters regarding former President George Weah acquisition of properties, the former president was well-to-do before ascending to the Liberian presidency. Nangbe noted that despite the outbreak of global pandemic, which affected several countries' economies, we are endeavored to ensure that the Liberian economy was stable and implemented many developmental projects, among many others.
Actually, not surprising to me that all of the promises, because the premise of this UP government itself was based on a lot of lies and misinformation and disinformation against the CDC government. So much so that they have, their days of reckoning have come today. Because let's talk about harmonization.
Let's talk.
When we organize the payroll so that those at the bottom could get something better, there were people making $65 in the government. After harmonization, 150. Police, the immigration people, our doctors were making $700. We increased it to 250, 2,500. Nurses, that is what harmonization was about. This whole harmonization was bad. When we come, we reverse it. Next month, we'll be in the third year. We'll be within the third year. Like later on in January, we'll be within the third year. What has happened? So you need to ask, when you ask me this question, I'll just point to how the government spokespersons respond. When you listen to Jerry Limipia, the current Minister of Information, the journalist asks you a question, he spent 90% of the time on CDC. It shows that there's nothing for him to talk about the government. Oh, CDC loot at the country. Where's the loot that you talk about? Where's the loot? They arrested the former Minister of Foreign Affairs for how many bags of rice? Is that a loot? And these people who are in court will be vindicated.
You think so?
Because even not being a lawyer, look at what they are putting forward. Look at all the cases in court. Twice in court today for a national security transaction. And there are still national security transactions going on as we speak. Similar to what it
Nangbe also criticized the government for what he termed downplaying of former First Lady Claire Marie Weah impact to Liberian society and the government allegation that she used public funds to establish the Claire Ho Foundation.
Is that the asset that's there to be recovered? So I'm not trying to legislate that particular case here. You asked me a general question. I'm saying these people will be vindicated because it's just the tyrannical use of the judiciary to hunt political opponents. It's not anything real that they're trying to recover assets. Look at the thing with Claire Hope Foundation. Somebody just wake up one day and say, oh, you use government money. If government monies are used, where you start from? Where you start from the Ministry of Finance to say, oh, okay, there's a voucher, it was paid to you. Then you ask him, the very Cloud Hope Foundation to present evidence against itself to say, okay, how you got the money? When as a legal entity, they make reports. Her finances are in order. She raised money for the children of Liberia. That's all. Somebody said, "Oh, why she didn't do it before she became first lady?" She did. She did. A lot of people in the country were beneficiaries of the scholarship she and her husband set up at the University of Liberia, in other places. When her husband was with UNICEF, she followed him everywhere to help Liberian children. So she has a record of doing that, and this record is being blemished by all of these chicanery.
Len Eugene Nangbe is the COS to former President George Weah. The Liberia Senate is said to have called off its separate budget hearings due to what many described as mounting pressure and condemnation of the House of Elders' action. In recent days, members of the Senate have been heavily criticized and accused by the House of Representatives of overstepping their constitutional authority. The commencement of the Senate separate budget hearing saw the appearance of several government ministries and agencies which refused to appear for budget hearings before the House of Representatives, prompting tension between both houses. However, addressing a press conference Thursday, Nimba County District 7 representative and Citizens Movement for Change political leader Musa Hassan Beliti, who strongly opposed the Senate separate budget hearings, noted that the Senate could or action could generate constitutional crisis.
Now, what the Senate is doing is wrong and has the propensity of creating constitutional crisis or creating confusion in our governance system. When the Senate is having a confirmation hearing, the House has no part to play. The frameworks of the Constitution were very clear on the usage of the word may and shall. And if they use the word shall, that becomes mandatory. And if they use the word may, that becomes optional. The Senate involvement in budget hearing or in the affairs of the budget, as far as Article 34 of the Liberian Constitution is concerned, is optional. They may concur. It means that they shall. They may concur or recommend. So this is one thing our forefathers did. Added two bodies and ensure that there is absolutely no confusion in the individual roles and that there's no duplication of function. They're taking away high-level government officials to the Senate and they're sending their deputies and juniors to the House. And Speaker Richard Cohen continued to behave in a manner that clearly showed that he has a sense of inferiority to the Senate. He is the leader of the legislature. He is the leader. The budget came to him as Speaker.
Belletti also termed the Senate separate budget hearings as usurping the House of Representatives' constitutional authority, noting that the House Speaker, Richard Cohen, have shown a sense of inferiority to the Senate. The Nema District 7 lawmaker at the same time threatened legal action against the Liberian Senate if it should continue its separate budget hearings.
To ask the court to intervene. I don't have control over the outcome. You see, what we're doing here, we're advocating, we're standing up for the rule of law. We're also making sure that history records the things we do. So I don't know the outcome of the law. I don't know the legal interpretation the court is going to give it. I believe that if something the Constitution says should happen doesn't happen, and the violation of our law takes place, and I've gone through all the processes of sufficiency in terms of notification, the only right I have to me now is to go to the court for the court to cite us and interpret the Constitution. I believe that the Senate action is wrong, and I think that the court should tell them to stop. I'm not alone. Actually, this matter was initially raised by Michael Thomas. The speaker has also, again, I believe that there are people in the Senate that were in the House, have control over the budget in the House, still want to be in control, and therefore are teleguiding the speaker as to how to deal with this situation. It is bad, it is wrong, and it's diminishing the House. Senator Dillon is a very evasive politician. He is a guy who, when he knows that he has no backing in the law, then he starts backing, just talking. He has been talking about this. He has cited no law to back him because he knows that there's no law to back him. The truth of the matter is that Senator King is a lawyer. He has said many things that are contrary to my view, but I mean, it's very clear. The Constitution is very clear. You cannot call for formal hearing on a matter that is not before you. That is distracting. It is affecting the presence. And I would have suggested to the Speaker in plenary that if the Senate does not stop what they're doing.
Nima County District 7 Representative and CMC political leader Musa Hassan Beliti. Nima County Senator Samuel Koga has alarmed over what he called the Ministry of Finance and Development planning failure to include in the draft 2026 national budget ArcelorMittal Liberia US $200 million support. Addressing a press conference Thursday, Senator Koga said the action is intended to deny Nima County and Liberia at large a full understanding about major budget components.
For the issue of the revenue sharing regulations, it is strong in the Revenue Regulation Act that there should be 10% given to the county, the federal county, meaning ArcelorMittal, if their concession ratified, they had 200 million in the budget, the contribution to the budget. And all these fundings derive from the exploration of iron ore in Nima County. And the revenue sharing law provides that every county that has a revenue base, whatsoever resource derived therefrom, 10% should go to the county. So if you sat and calculate the revenue dividend number is 220 million. Out of 200 million, 10% is 220 million. That's the money that's supposed to go. So we are concerned, why is it that the Ministry of Finance is silent and this is not included in the budget to be captured as a law? Predicated upon this, we told you how to flag the issue so that the committees on judiciary and ways, means, and finance to investigate and to show that this identical component is captured in the national budget. If you check in the budget, in terms of issue that has to do with dividend from the mines, you have like 3 million coming to Nima. So where the 20 million left, we need to know. It is our fiduciary responsibility as a senator of the country to ensure, most especially at the crucial stage where the budget is before us.
Nima County Senator Samuel Koga there speaking. A reminder you're listening to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Stories following tonight. Coalition for Democratic Change Secretary General alleges ruling Unity Party of using key government agencies to divert over US $1.3 million for party December 6 event. Jefferson Koji named Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, Liberia Petroleum Refining Company, and Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation as covert checks writers. Several lawmakers openly reject monthly salary reduction, sparking makes public reactions as citizens accuse Senator Abraham Darrows DeLone of advocating for lawmakers' salary reduction on a pretense. Liberian Senate reportedly called off separate budget hearings amidst mounting pressure and condemnation. Representative Musa Hassan Bello, lead critics of the Senate's separate budget hearings, vows to take legal action if the Senate conduct any budget hearings. Away from home, the leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda are set to sign the peace deal aimed at ending the long-running conflict in the region at a summit hosted by U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will meet the head of Ukraine's National Security Council, Rustem Ummerov, for talks in Miami on Thursday, the White House has confirmed. We'll take a break to be back with more voices. Welcome back and thanks for being there. The Solidarity and Trust for a New Day has disturbed the scheduled December 6 fundraising rally to build national headquarters and county chapter offices for the ruling Unity Party as money laundering. Stands Chairman Mobambolu said by appointing officials of government holding lucrative positions to serve as fundraiser is flawed by the Unity Party to steal from taxpayers and use the December 6 fund raising rather to clean the stolen money, just as is done by drug dealers.
We will not allow you to put your hand in the collective treasury of the state and take money from there to empower one party above other parties. That creates an unfair playing field that undermines democracy. That gives you an unfair advantage. If you are putting your hand in taxpayers' money to build party headquarters today, what else will you do in 2029 when it comes to on his re-election bid? The fact that officials of government in lucrative positions have been appointed publicly as members or leaders of a fundraising enterprise to raise money, to raise millions of dollars to construct UP headquarters, national headquarters, county headquarters, regional headquarters, logically indicate that taxpayers' monies have been used or will be used for that exercise. So what I see is this is an extension or a clever attempt to launder money, because you are stealing taxpayers' money and you go into a fundraising event to create the impression that you are raising the money from there, thereby cleaning that money. That's what drug dealers do. They steal money and build nightclubs, build bars, and create the impression that the money they got now, their wealth is traced to the running of that nightclub. Yeah. But in reality, they already stole the money and are simply transmitting it through the nightclub to clean the money. So that event on Saturday is money laundering. UP is attempting to justify tens of millions of dollars through a fake and sham fundraising endeavor at the expense of the people's tax dollar.
Solidarity and Trust for a New Day Chairman Moba Molu, the chairperson of the Independent National Commission on Human Rights, has described the culture of impunity as a serious problem, a major factor that have created alarming killings of innocent people in several parts of Liberia. According to Councillor Dempster Brown, despite Liberians' cries over the years for justice, they are yet to experience true justice. The INCHR boss, however, expressed confidence in President Joseph Boakar's executive order, which calls for establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court, adding that if established, the court will bring to an end impunity.
The president is operating good faith, but the people around the president are not operating effectively.
Are you sure of this, Councilor Brown?
Yes, I always seen this. I know the old man too well. He's slow but sure. He means what he say. But those that are around him, like for example, the issue of being court, a legal issue. The president is not a lawyer, but lawyers that are around him must be able to tell him the truth.
And they are misleading him.
They are not telling him the truth. And this is why a delay. And then I made it clear to the senators yesterday that President Baka is operating in good faith to curtail the culture of impunity. But we don't want his legacy to be destroyed. We want to make sure that that war crime code is established under his administration, and he will leave. One day he will leave.
Councillor Brown, you have been in the human rights business for a long period of time and now coming at the commissioners. Deep down into your heart, who do you think is ready as suppressing the establishment of the court?
We got people who fought war in the Senate and House of Representatives. And I made it clear that we made mistake to elect people from the various counties who took part in the war and killed people.
And you think they are the ones that are trying to stop the establishment of the court?
The possibility exists. And this is why we're going to push it. The civil society and the Human Rights Commission and the international community will make sure that the war crime code is established to help President Baka that is established. And you know, we are going to monitor the exercise. Anybody that will discover that undermine will be sanctioned.
So how will you monitor this, Councillor Brown?
We got people in there. We got monitor all these agencies. Anybody that will discover in the Senate or House of Representatives that will undermine the establishment of this court will be sanctioned by international community.
In the presentations, did you really give some ultimatum to them as to them passing this and to have the court kick off right away?
It was a question that was asked by one press friend from Front Page Africa, and the chairman of the judicial committee, the Senate, said that as soon as possible.
Some of the colleagues there who are fought, they are innocent. They are also pressing button too.
Yeah, but it can't work. It can't work. The Human Rights Commission will make sure that the war crime code is established. Even I was sitting down here today, I don't know where my mother grave is. She was killed by warlords in Maryland County.
Don't you observe any of these warlords that is currently in the Senate? When they hear you speak about this, they are jittering.
You know, when I came on one time, I had a press conference on the issue of the same war crime code, and I said my mother died. And I named the faction that killed my mother, LPC. You know, the head of LPC came on and said I was trying to lie on the LPC. But only the doctrine of respondent superior. If you are the head of any institution, anything happens, who is responsible?
By former Representative George Bullock.
Yes, definitely. He came up and challenged I can't argue with him because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
But he challenged you now, so you should have some proof.
No, the issue here is LPC killed people in Maryland County, everybody. My mother was going to Ivory Coast, running away, and they killed her. Today, I know where my mother grave is.
Chairperson of the Independent National Commission on Human Rights, Councillor Dempster Brown. The Civil Society Human Rights Advocacy Platform of Liberia and the Independent National Commission on Human Rights of Liberia have petitioned the Liberian Senate calling for amendment on the bill seeking to establish the War and Economic Crime Court in the country. Recently, Senators Yomle Kanga Lawrence and Joseph Jala sponsored a bill seeking to establish a War and Economic Crimes Court, but that bill did not make the proposed court independent. In the bill, the senators requested an appeal court to be chaired by the Supreme Court of Liberia. Speaking shortly after presenting a 36-page amendment bill to the Senate Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights, the platform Secretary General Adama Dempster disclosed that the bill is intended to make the War and Economic Crimes Court to have its own appeal chamber.
We heard that the Senate proposed a bill sponsored by the pro tempore Malan Lawrence, Yomli Kanga Lawrence, and Senator Jala, Joseph K. Jala from Lofa County, profile a bill. In the two bills, one of the bill has to do with the creation of the War Crimes Court. Though what was captured in the bill that has to do with war crime subjected the war crime process to the Supreme Court appellate jurisdiction, in which if any war crimes court, which has to be international large court, be subjected to the Supreme Court of the country, a compromise and also narrow the independence of the court. So we thought that international war crimes court from other statutes we've seen around the world has to be independent. They have to have their own trial chambers and appeal chamber to give accused person an opportunity to appeal when they are not satisfied. So on the basis of that, we engaged the Senate and had a conversation with them that civil society appreciate what they have done, because what we sought was the intent. So in law, intent is what matters. So the intent of the senators tie in with the intent of the Civil Society Independent National Commission on Human Rights. That has to do with ending the culture of impunity, holding people accountable for gross human rights violation, and then enacting a law that will hold people accountable for having committed war crimes in the country. So they tie in with the civil society, so we decided to move the process forward. So they asked us, send that as a case, what is the proposal or suggestion you guys have? So that took us back into our working session for 3 weeks almost, with no money budgetary support for any international organization, no government agency, civil society and independent national commission on human rights. We had a technical team that worked tirelessly to have produced a 36-page, draft legislation that was presented yesterday to the Liberian Senate, the Judiciary and Human Rights Committee for the incorporation and working as a working tool to improve on whatever bill that have been proposed by the two senators. The title of the bill is basically, borders around establishing the War Crimes Court. Okay. So the only modifications we made in our amendment that was presented to them has to do.
Adama Dempster is the Secretary General of the Civil Society Human Rights Advocacy Platform of Liberia. Away from home, the leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda are set to sign a peace deal aimed at ending the long-running conflict in the region at a summit hosted by U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington. Ahead of the summit, there has been an escalation in fighting in resource-rich eastern DR Congo between government forces and rebels believed to be backed by Rwanda. The Congo's army accused its rivals of attempting to sabotage the peace process, but the M23 rebels say the army had launched an offensive in breach of a ceasefire. At the start of the year, the M23 seized large parts of eastern DR Congo in an offensive that saw thousands killed and many more forced from their homes. And U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will meet the head of Ukraine's National Security Council, Rostem Umerov, for talks in Miami. On Thursday, the White House has confirmed Witkoff spent almost 5 hours with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on Tuesday. A negotiation with the Kremlin said produced no compromise on any of the war in Ukraine. U.S. President Donald Trump said the talks were reasonably good, but it was too soon to say what could happen, as it does take two to tango. Putin later said reaching a consensus would not be an easy task. Well, on that note, that's how we come to the near end of this edition of King's Newsroom. But before we leave, a quick reminder of stories we followed in the headlines. Coalition for Democratic Change Secretary General alleges ruling Unity Party of using key government agencies to divert over US $1.3 million for party December 6 event. Jefferson Koji named Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, Liberia Petroleum Refining Company, and Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation as covert checks writers. Several lawmakers openly reject monthly salary reduction, sparking mixed public reactions. Citizens criticized Senator Abraham Darius DeLong of advocating for lawmaker salary reduction on a pretense. You also heard in the news Liberian Senate reportedly called off separate budget hearings amidst mounting pressure and condemnation. Representative Musa Hassan Bello lead critics of the Senate separate budget hearings, vows to take legal action if the Senate conducts any budget hearings. Away from home, the leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda are set to sign a peace deal aimed at ending the long-running conflict in the region at a summit hosted by U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will meet the head of Ukraine's National Security Council, Rostem Umerov, for talks in Miami on Thursday, the White House has confirmed. And thanks to our reporters, correspondents, and all those who helped in making this edition of King's Newsroom a success. Sam Andrews brought you the news bulletin. Frank Diallo Swan sat at control and handled the technical aspect of this edition. On behalf of the team, I'm Shimon Dale. I presented. Thanks for listening and watching.